All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something really deep and honestly pretty powerful. We're going to explore the hidden strengths that women who grew up with narcissistic parents often develop. And we're going to look at it through a Jungian lens, which gives us this incredible map for understanding how these childhood survival skills can actually transform into profound wisdom. So let's just start with this paradox, right? A question that might hit really close to home for a lot of you. Why is it that some of the most capable, high-achieving, most empathetic women you know, maybe you are one of them, are often the ones who secretly feel this nagging emptiness, this feeling like, I'm not really sure who I am behind it all? Well, the answer almost always goes back to childhood. Okay, so to really get this, we have to talk about a core idea from Carl Jung, the persona. Just think of it as the social mask we all put on to get by in the world. It's totally normal. But in a narcissistic home, where love and approval are currency you have to earn, a daughter learns that her survival, her safety, depends on making that mask absolutely perfect. It gets polished and perfected to please, to achieve, and just to keep the peace. And what this does is it creates this massive split, this profound duality. So on the outside, there's the persona she shows, competent, charming, the one who gives and never seems to run out. But beneath that flawless surface, the self she hides feels completely lost, starving for real recognition and carrying that deep, hollow sense of emptiness. And that split right there, that's what we're going to unpack. So let's get into the specific traits that grow out of this dynamic. And this is so important. We have to stop seeing these as flaws. They're not. They are brilliant, highly sophisticated survival strategies that a child developed to get through a really tough situation. The first one is honestly kind of a superpower, but it was born out of necessity. It's hyper-attunement. This is this incredible heightened sensitivity. It's the ability to walk into a room and instantly read the emotional temperature, to predict a parent's mood before it even fully forms, all to steer clear of conflict. So what does this look like in adult life? Well, it looks like exceptional empathy. She's the natural therapist of the friend group, the person everyone goes to with their problems because she just gets it. She's always scanning how other people are feeling, and here's the kicker. She feels responsible for those feelings, often putting her own emotions aside just to keep things smooth. But, of course, there's a huge cost to this, and this quote just says it all. When you are so laser-focused on everyone else, your own inner voice just grows faint. It gets drowned out by the noise of taking care of everybody else. And that leads us right into the second trait, this relentless drive to overachieve and overgive. Think about it. If you learned as a kid that love was tied to your performance, your grades, your achievements, how helpful you were, then you internalize a really damaging belief. My worth comes from what I do, not from who I am. You can really see it as this four-step cycle. It all starts with that conditional love. That teaches you to equate your self-worth with what you can produce. So you develop this really strong achiever or caretaker mask, and all the while, the needs of your true, authentic self are just completely ignored. They never get a voice. So what's the end result of all of this? A really fragmented self-image. I mean, how can you build a solid internal sense of who you are if your entire identity was built around becoming a mirror for other people's needs? Your sense of self becomes almost like a chameleon, constantly changing colors to fit the environment. This quote right here is the internal motto. I am who you need me to be. And look, that adaptability can be a huge asset in the world, for sure. But it comes at a terrible price. The feeling that you have no solid ground under your own feet. It's what leads to that terrifying question, take everyone else away, and who am I really? So these traits helped you survive, no question, but they have a deep hidden cost. And to really understand that cost, we have to bring in another critical Jungian idea. We have to talk about the shadow. So, what is the shadow? Think of it like the psychic basement of your personality. It's where you shoved everything you were taught was unacceptable. Your anger, your needs, your vulnerability. But here's the magic of Jung's work. The shadow isn't just a scary basement full of pain. It's also where your gold is hidden. It's where your greatest potential, your resilience, and your creativity are just waiting. So if we were to open the door to that shadow, what would we find? Yeah, a lot of unexpressed rage and anger. that deep, gnawing feeling of emptiness, a brutal inner critic that never, ever shuts up, and just the raw pain of a childhood that was never seen or validated. It all got pushed down into the dark. Okay, I know, that sounds pretty heavy, but this is not where the story ends. In fact, it's the opposite. Turning around and facing that shadow, that's the beginning of the real journey. The journey to wholeness and to finally finding that authentic self that's been buried for so, so long. And the name for this journey, in Jung's world, is individuation. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. It's this lifelong adventure of consciously bringing those hidden parts of yourself, especially the shadow, back into the light, so you can finally become the person you are always meant to be. This says it all, doesn't it? Healing is not about erasing the past or cutting out the wounded parts of you. It's about integration. It's about turning toward that wounded inner child, listening to her, and making her a cherished, valued part of your whole adult self. And that brings us to the most incredible, most empowering part of this whole thing. This is where we see how those original wounds, those survival traits we talked about, actually contain the seeds of your greatest wisdom and your most profound strengths. Just look at this transformation. It's amazing. That hypervigilance, that constant scanning you had to do to survive, when you own it, it becomes extraordinary intuition and deep insight into people. That drive to overachieve, when it's no longer fueled by desperation for approval, it becomes disciplined ambition, guided by your own authentic purpose. And the alchemy continues. That repressed anger, all that rage you had to swallow, when you finally let yourself feel it, it becomes the fuel for powerful assertiveness and rock-solid boundaries. And that constant instability that led to so much self-doubt, it forges a kind of resilience and adaptability that is practically unbreakable. So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how? What's the path? Well, it starts by turning around and facing the shadow, acknowledging the pain and the anger without judgment. It means learning the terrifying, liberating act of setting boundaries, of saying no. It's about making a conscious choice every day to break the cycle. And finally, it's about turning all that suffering into wisdom that can guide you, and maybe even others. So if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this. If any of what we've talked about resonates with you, please, please know, these traits are not flaws. They're not proof that something is wrong with you. They are the marks of a survivor. They are scars from a battle you won. And it's even more than that, because within those very marks of survival, within those scars, lie extraordinary gifts. Your sensitivity, your drive, your resilience. These are your superpowers, and they are just waiting for you to claim them and use them on your own terms. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to really sit with. What if that thing that caused you the most pain, your greatest wound, what if it's not actually something to get over, but is in fact the very doorway, the key that will unlock your most powerful, authentic self?